Welcome back guys to Unreal Engine 4 storage tutorial part number 2. In the previous video we created this chest which has an opening and closing animation that is replicated, and in this video we are going to store some items in this chest. So let's begin. The first thing what I'm going to do is in the inventory system folder I'm going to create a new blueprint interface. So I'm going to right click, select blueprints and blueprint interface, and I'm going to call this chest interface. Should be good. And inside of here I'm going to rename this function to get chest items, and for this we need an output, and I'm going to call this output storage RI, and the type needs to be an S inventory structure type. And this needs to be not a single variable but a array of variables. So it should look something like this. So that's it for the interface. And now I'm going to open up my BP chest. I'm going to select class defaults and I'm going to add this interface. So chest interface. There we go. And now that we have added this, we have a new function in the interfaces. And it now requires the storage array. So I'm going to add a new variable and I'm going to call this storage. And this again needs to be an S inventory structure type and an array of variables. And now we can just directly connect this variable over here, like so. And one more thing, since this is a multiplayer game, I'm going to select this variable. I'm going to do a instance editable, and also replication needs to be replicated. So the next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the UI folder, and now I'm going to create UIs for this whole thing. So the first one, we need a item button, and I'm going to use this UI item info that we already have from the inventory system. So I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to call this UI chest item info. This is just a simple button. And in the graph, I'm going to remove this click event, only leaving the construct event, since this is going to have the same functionality. And the next thing what I'm going to do is add a couple of variables. And the first one is going to be is this chest item. And this will determine whether this is an inventory or a chest item. And for this variable we need to do this as instance editable and exposed on spawn. The next variable is going to be this chest, and this needs to be an actor type, and this will represent the chest that we are interacting with. And also we need to do this instance editable and exposed on spawn, like so. So now we can close this. And the next thing that we need is the actual full widget, which is going to show up on the screen. So I'm going to create a new user interface widget blueprint, and I'm going to call this UI chest. And inside of here I'm going to add two borders. So one border, the other border. And inside of these borders I'm going to do a scroll box. Scroll box number 1 and scroll box number 2. So for the first border I'm going to select this and I'm going to anchor this to the left bottom corner, like so. And I'm going to make this 600 by 800, and the position X needs to be 50, position Y needs to be minus 850. Whoops, minus 850. There we go. And for the other border I'm going to do the same sizes, 6 by 800, and the position needs to be minus 650. Oh, first I need to anchor this to the right bottom, and now minus 650. And the other one is minus 850, like so. There we go. And to make this a little bit more nicer looking, I'm gonna add a background image in the appearance brush image. And I'm gonna do this old page that I have. There we go. So now it looks a little bit nicer. And for the scroll boxes, I'm going to rename these. So the left one is going to be, in my case, the chest items, and the right one is going to be the inventory items. And both of these needs to be set to is variable, like so. So compile and save. And that's it for the designer. So I'm going to open up the graph, and inside of here again we need a couple of variables. So the first one is going to be the storage RI, and again this needs to be an S inventory RI, instance editable and exposed on spawn. And the next variable needs to be this chest, which needs to be an actor type, instance editable exposed on spawn, but this needs to be a single variable, not an array of elements. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete these two events and leave the event construct, and let's print out our inventory items. So from the event construct, I'm gonna do a cast to third person character, and as an object reference I'm going to get owning player pawn, and as third person character I will get the inventory RI, and I'm gonna do a for each loop. So we are going to loop through our items, and for every item we are going to create a widget, and this widget needs to be the chest item info. And for the item data, we're going to drag this to the RI element, and for this chest we need to drag in our this chest variable. And since this is the inventory, then this chest item needs to be false. And the next thing what we are going to do is we need to drag in our inventory items scroll box, and we need to do a add child. And for the content, connect the return value, like so. So now if we compile and save, this should work, but we still need to display this. So I'm gonna go to the third person character, and inside of here we need to create a new user interface function. So I'm going to duplicate this create inventory UI, and I'm going to rename this to create chest UI. And also we need a new variable for over here. So in the user interface variables, I'm going to add a new variable, and I'm going to call this is chest open. And I'm going to replace this is inventory open with is chest open, and set this to true since we are opening the chest over here. And also in this create inventory widget, I'm going to change this to UI chest. And now we need two inputs for our storage and chest data. So I'm going to add two new parameters. The first one is going to be the storage RI, which needs to be an S inventory RI, and the other one is this chest, which needs to be an actor type. There we go. And now we can connect these like so. There we go, as simple as that. And now since we are setting this to true, we should go to our create HUD UI and reset this back to false once we load our HUD again. So there we go. And now in the event graph, where we have our E key, where we are interacting from a line trace to a chest, we need to do a couple of checks. We need to add a tag to our chest, so I'm gonna go quickly to the chest. Forgot to do this. So select your BP chest self and search for a tag and add a new tag. We already have a door here, and now we need to add chest. There we go. And in the third person character, now after we are opening the chest, we can do another if branch check, and dragging from our hit actor, I'm gonna do a actor has tag, and I'm gonna check if this has a chest tag, like so. And if this has a chest tag, and now from the hit actor, I'm going to get chest items message from our blueprint interface, connect this to true, and this will return the storage RI variable from our chest. And from here we can do our create chest UI. We can connect the storage RI over here, and this chest needs to be this hit actor, like so. There we go. So now we can compile and save. Let's hit play. Let's pick up a few items so we have something in our inventory, and if we go to the chest, press E. There we go. We have our items. You can see them. And now let's add these to the chest. So the first thing what we need to do is we should actually display items that are in the chest. So let's select our UI chest again. And here we have this event construct. We are looping through the inventory. And once this loop is complete, here we have an execution node. From over here, we need to do a cast to BP chest. And as object, we need to use our this chest variable. And from this BP chest, we need to get our storage RI variable. And pretty similar like over here. Again, we need to do a for each loop. And we need to create a widget for every single one of our items. And this again needs to be the UI chest item info. And the item data goes to RI element. This chest needs to be this chest variable again. And since this is the chest items, then we need to set is this chest item to true. And now we can drag in our chest item scroll box. We need to add a child to this. And again, the content goes in the return value, like so. There we go. We can't yet place items inside of our chest, but from this it should already be displaying. So now we can go to our BP chest, and we need to add the functions to store, remove, and sort the items. So to make things quicker, I assume you have watched my inventory system tutorials. Otherwise, you have a lot of adjusting to do in order to make this chest system work. I'm gonna go to the third person character, and I'm going to copy a couple of functions. So the first one, what I'm gonna copy is search item. So I'm gonna select everything, copy this, and I'm gonna copy this over here. So I'm gonna do a new function, and I'm gonna call this search item, and I'm gonna paste this in like so. Connect the execution, and we need this appears to be gray since we don't have this variable. So I'm gonna right click this, and I'm gonna create local variable. Did we find an item? Which creates a local variable in this function. Now for the inventory, I'm gonna delete this inventory structure and RI, and I'm gonna connect the storage instead, like so. And one more thing that we need to do is we need to create a input here. So I'm gonna add an input of a item data, which should be the S inventory structure type. And I'm gonna connect this to this break result. So this should look something like this. So I'm gonna compile and save. The next thing what we need to add an item. So I'm gonna go back to the third person character again, select the add item. I'm gonna select everything over here, copy this, and again in the BP chest, add a new function of a add item, and paste the function over here. Connect the branch. There we go. And again we need a new input, which should be the S item data of a S inventory structure type. So I'm going to connect this to the break result. I'm going to connect it also to the search item, and also connect this to add item over here, and we need this for many locations. So I'm going to do a reroute over here, reconnect this like so, go to the next one. It should look like this. And for the inventory RI, I'm going to change this to the storage RI again. So delete this one, drag in a new one, connect the add, and connect the set RI element. So this should look something like this. Let's double check to make sure that everything is like in the third person character, because these functions should be pretty similar. There we go. So we have everything. And the next thing what I'm gonna add, we have an error. No input. Yeah, I forgot to connect this input, so connect this one as well. There we go. So if we forget something, then it gives us an error. That's great. We don't forget things. And now the last function that we need is this remove item. So I'm gonna again select all of this, and I'm gonna add a new function in the BP chest, remove item, paste all of it here like so. And again we need a input of a item data as inventory structure type. Connect the structure, connect this over here as well. And for the inventory, we need to drag in the storage and replace this like so. So I think this should be it, and we shouldn't have to do anything more. So now what we can do is go back to the UI folder, and now we need to the on-click events. So the UI chest item info file in the graph, we need to select our item button and do a on-click event. And from over here, first what we are going to check, we're going to check if this is a chest item or a inventory item. So let's start with the inventory item. So if this is the inventory item, then what we are going to do is cast to third person character, and we are going to use the get owning player pawn as the object reference. And from over here we are going to remove an item, and we are going to remove this item data item, and the amount should be 1. We are going to remove 1 at a time. So now we are going to check if we have successfully removed an item. And if we have removed an item, we should add this to the chest. But to do this, we need to do this through the server character. So now back in our third person character, in the event graph, I will find a free spot, and this seems pretty good. I'm gonna do a new custom event, and I'm gonna name this server, caps lock, server add item to chest. And this custom event needs to have 2 variables. So the first one needs to be the item data of a S inventory structure type, and the other one should be this chest, so that we would know in which chest should we store the item. And also this event needs to be ran on server. So now we are going to drag from this chest, and we are going to cast to our BP chest. And as this BP chest, we are going to add item. Add item to the chest, and the item data needs to be this item data from the custom event, like so. As simple as that. And now back in the UI chest item info, we can run this. So we call this server add well, we need to drag from our third-person character, of course. So server add item to chest. I'm going to do a couple of reroutes. And for the item data, again, connect the item data variable and this chest variable, like so. And what we can do now is clear HUD so that we would reset our UI. And from over here, the next thing what we should do is we need to create chest UI. And before we can create this, we need to have this storage variable, which we don't have. So we need to do a cast to BP chest again. And we need to use this chest as an object reference to the chest. And then from here we can drag this BP chest to this chest, and also we need to get the storage array, like so. And again, another reroute. Let's compile and save, and let's test this out to see how this works. Press play. Let's test this on the client side. Select a few items. So let's press E. We have our items. So stick does not appear, but if we press it again, then we have it, and it has a small glitch which creates multiple items in our chest. And I know exactly why is this happening, but this tutorial has gone a little long and we are going to fix this in the next video. It is a very small fix, but we also need to create the functionality for our unequip remove items from the chest function. So we are going to do all of that in the next video and also fix this issue as well. So if you enjoyed this video, and we also should fix the thing with the opening of the chest, because we no longer can really close this UI only by selecting and closing a different UI. So we are going to fix all of those issues and also remove items from the chest itself. So this is going to be it for this episode, so stay tuned and see you guys in the next video.